Good afternoon, everybody. Wall Street Jesus here. Tuesday's post game show. Every Tuesday, we get together. For those of you who are new, we talk about what we're seeing early on in the market, try to get a game plan together for the remainder of the week, and take it from there. We got summer upon us, and I don't know if maybe there's just a lack of appetite of size buying out there, or it's just summer.
CYH.
Let me lower. I'll go Jesus here, and it could be a little bit of both. But the fact of the matter is, we mentioned this earlier in the room. We had a nice little stretch there, coming out of a corrective phase from the lows up until recently when things got a little bit tight on the upside. And, we can't complain. We can't complain a couple of days or a couple of weeks of a little slow time, especially as we're in these summer months here. All right. But I want to take a little different route because I already see several questions on names and some flow today and all that stuff. The flow sucked. Okay. Flow was awful today. Flow was awful yesterday. And you take out repeat activity, you take out of the equation repeat activity in the same names that have just gone nuts over the past couple of weeks. There hasn't really been much of anything new as far as quality buying. We've been talking about that for quite a bit, a couple of weeks now, it feels like. So flow is not the topic of conversation here. No reason to waste our breath on flow. What I want to start off with, and it's something I'm sure brings out some pain in some of you degenerates, but if you remember last week on this webinar, which, by the way, we have members in here. We got a lot of people on Twitter in here. We post this on Facebook. So this is open to everybody. So this particular webinar, not the members only webinar over the weekend or anything like that. Last Tuesday, there was actually, we had a guest on, right? I think Mr. Ranchero was on. Do you remember the topic of conversation? Do you remember what we were talking about, what we were discussing? Spent pretty much the whole, I see MJ already, spent the whole webinar, keying on? Anybody? I'm sure all of you who are in this webinar now or listen to it on recording, I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. You may not want to answer the question or admit to hearing it, but we were talking about protection. Okay, we were talking about sentiment getting a little too hot on the bullish side, the lack of quality activity in new, fresh names. Okay, and the reason, I talk to you guys a lot about that. For me, I guess it comes easier because I'm just trading off flow, basically. Obviously I sprinkle in sentiment as well. I think they work great together, but flow is the end all be all for me. Okay. If there's no quality sweeper activity that I like, I'm not playing anything. Like yesterday, for example, I didn't even day trade anything because there was just nothing that really fit the bill. Okay. So I always get these questions about, is there some signs out of the put action? Is there protection out there that tells us maybe the market's ready to roll over? And I give the same response all the time. I get more out of the actual call activity, call sweeper activity to be exact, than I do protection. Okay, because we're going to see protection even in the most bullish climates. We're going to see people protect their bullish positions all the way up. We saw it all last year. Maybe not a lot of it, but we saw some of it. So it's always, a player could be extremely bullish and put on protection. Okay, so it's really hard to get much of a grasp based off this, on smart money sentiment from the protection side. Now, if you get aggressive put sweeper activity out there, right? And what I mean by that is, the whole flow like we saw a couple of days ago. When was that? Yesterday, where it's just protection all over the board and no call buying. At that point, a lot of times it's too late. The market's already in sell mode. Okay, so for me, the only thing over the course of my career that's given me a heads up, besides just having an idea where retail sentiment is at the time, is the lack of call buying in anything new. Okay, that's why I hate climbing the ladder, playing the same names over and over again, because eventually these things are going to run out of gas and roll over. If I see new money rotating into other stuff, that tells me, all right, maybe they're done playing these hot names that have gone parabolic, but now they got other groups, a whole new batch of names that they're focusing on. So that should hold the market together. All right. If we're not seeing any new buying, any rotation, when those hot names roll over, that's when you see put sweepers grab the ball and the selling, begin to accelerate. And that's kind of like what we saw recently here. Off the latter stages of this move, even, into the early stage of this pullback. So basically you had them, we were talking, hitting the same names over and over and over. They were going bananas, and we were looking for that rotation. Okay, let's go, guys. Start chewing on something new here. Maybe the banks, maybe go back into the industrials that nobody wants anymore. Some transportation names, something. And they just never did. And then eventually, this is what happens. And this is totally fine, okay? But not if you get caught. All right? So the only thing that you can do, and I think that's where flow and sentiment can assist you in that process, when things get too hot on a sentiment side and you're not seeing that rotation, right? So you can't you're not rotating yourself if you're not seeing that rotation. That's where you look to, one, size down in a big way. Okay, meaning could be position sizing, could be dollar amount, nominal sizing, could be whatever the case may be. But if you're, let's say, at the early start of a trend, when you're most aggressive, you have 6 different positions on. There's no reason for you now at the end or near the end of a trend to have 6 positions on. And the best way to look at it, and this is what we were talking about last week, is, okay, you made some decent money in this rally. Every single one of you out there, okay, unless you were shorting the market and trying to get cute, on the long side, you made money off this recent rally. No question, okay? Some of you may have gotten a little luckier and made more money. A lot of you, we hear this all the time, maybe didn't make as much as you would like. You wished you sized up more. You wished you would have played so-and-so. You passed on. That's all normal, okay? But every single one of you, especially off flow, especially if you were paying attention to sentiment at the lows where the riffraff wanted to short everything, every single one of you made some money off this rally, okay? And then when you start to see those signs of caution, that's where you say to yourself, all right, now my job is to hold on to at least a decent chunk of the money I made. I guess that's so hard for a lot of traders to swallow. It's like, all right, I made some good money here. It's not enough. I want to make more up here. And with that mindset, with that approach, you're going to continuously spin your wheels. You're going to continuously blow up accounts. Okay? If you're taking the same position size or the same dollar amount size at every point in the market, any real drawdown, you're going to get caught and you're going to get lumped up. I mean, is it that some people don't see that? You know, think about it logically, especially in options. Any drawdown you get caught in, if your position size the same way each and every time, like you were at the start of a rally, at the end of a rally, how are you going to make any headway in this game? All right, so it's just as important, I think, to make sure you're doing that at or near the end than getting involved at the beginning. Okay, and here's the thing too. Here's the most important thing. I think what bothers a lot of traders, okay, and I don't see it, but I guess I got to understand it because I see it bother most that can't comprehend this thesis, is that what if the market continues higher and I size down? I get that response from people. What happens if the market, if let's say sentiment is wrong? What happens if the market continues to go higher? I don't understand what the problem is with that. You know, that's why we're not saying go into 100% cash. Okay? We're saying you size down dramatically. Okay? So this way you have some exposure, you're participating, so you're going to make some money if the market continues higher. But more importantly, if you get caught in a drawdown, you're going to give back some profit. Nobody likes to do that, but you have no choice in this game. Okay, and more importantly, have ammo, like right now, okay, to be looking around for new, fresh activity, fresh flow, and maybe new sectors, whatever the case may be. That's probably and likely going to be the start of another leg or trend higher. It may come here, it may be down here, it may be out a month from now, but ultimately what's going to happen is there's going to be another tradable rally out of this with fresh action, new aggressive initial activity. You guys hear me use that term all the time, initial activity. And that's where you get the biggest bang for your buck. That's where the best risk reward comes from. You know, think about some of the early flow, you know, some of the big winners that came out of some of these pullbacks recently off this correction. You know, they're always the best ones because they're the first names that get lifted. So they come literally at the start of a rally, at the start of a move. Okay, where the action that comes in late stage, remember we were holding this discussion, all that action we were seeing, you know, coming up here was late inning, late stage stuff. Right? IQ exploded. Okay, we got to find the next IQ. That's late stage stuff. There was only one IQ. IQ is always the best, you know, the first one's always the best one. And then what happens is the money starts to look for other plays, those mimic plays, and they can be traded. But if you're holding for the next IQ, you're going to get walloped. You know? So that's what's ultimately going to come out of this flush. When? God knows. I have no idea. If I knew that, I wouldn't be here talking to you today. You know, but eventually we're going to see good looking action come out of nowhere, hit some names that are nicely set up, right? Because this is the good thing about what happened over the last couple of days. Even the hot stuff got hit over the head. Okay, so the longer this goes on like this, the less we have to look for rotation because everything's corrected. You know, we're not there yet, obviously, but the longer this goes on, the better, you know, the bigger the pool gets of names. We could even look at some of the names that we saw recently. All right, so, but again, I'm not bringing this up so I rub salt in the wounds type of thing. You know, I always say that because it's the truth. I'm not trying to push the I told you so in your face, okay? But I'm being honest with you. It's not about the names that worked or didn't work. It's about just that. What I just went over right now is about whether you're going to end up net profit or not at the end of the day. Everybody makes money on the long side when markets rally. Everybody. Okay, some people think they're gurus for it. Everybody. Again, the problem is not everybody can hang on to it. You know, it's almost like an uptrend in a stock, right? That's what your P&L looks like at times. So, you know, you have a nice run, you make a decent amount of money, you size down, take off some risk, a little pullback, you give some of it back. New leg higher, your P&L goes higher. Same thing, size down, take off some risk, you give a little bit back. You know, and that's ultimately what your P&L is going to look like on, as far as swing trading is concerned as well. Same exact thing. You know, the bulk of your money is going to come from the stuff you get involved in, for the most part, early on in the trend. Early on in the trend. You know, that's when you're doing things right. And some of you, you know, may not think that. You know, some of you may have the confidence, even though it's not right, in my opinion, but some of you may have the confidence to size up here. You know, some of you may feel more confident when everything is going higher, everything has gone parabolic. Some of you may feel better about buying size into that. But, you know, I got news for you. That's not the right thing to do. You know, that's not the right thing to do. All right, so again, you learn from these things. That's what this game's all about. You learn from the mistakes and things you should have done differently, and you correct them going forward. If you keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again, you got no shot in this game. I mean, I got news. You may not want to hear it. You got no shot in this game. No shot. And if you want to find another way around what I just explained to you, you're not going to find it. You're not going to find it. There's got to be some sort of risk management, money management behind what the hell you do. There's got to be some rhyme or reason. Otherwise, you're spinning your wheels. All right. So, again, you learn from it. You look for the same exact things next time around. You look for the same exact things, and you make sure you do it if you didn't get the job done this time around. Okay, because here's the issue. You may get away with it if you're lucky. If you have enough time on those calls, maybe everything comes back and bails you out. But there's going to be not just one time, but several times that doesn't happen, and that will bury you. Bury you. Getting bailed out is the worst thing that can happen because it has you think that you're going to get bailed out again the next time. And that's not the case. All right. One more thing, and then I'll take questions from you guys because I see it already. IGT questions all over the place. I still, no matter how many times I think you guys, you don't get it. You don't get it. What's IGT? Why is it? Could it be that IGT is actually a loser? No. Is it possible? That can't be possible, can it? No way. No way. Can IGT actually be a loser? Yeah, this is right up there with what I just mentioned. You get fixated on the specific name that you need to go. You are dead in this game. You are dead. IGT doesn't have to be a winner for you to have an edge off activity. Does IGT tell me that I don't have an edge even though Campbell's Soup and the list from here to Chicago goes on before that worked out? If IGT doesn't work, what's that mean? There's no shot of you clicking at 100% in this game? No kidding. You get fixated on the loser and you will lose in this game. You will lose. You don't have magical powers. You're not going to turn winners into losers. The sharpest of money out there lose. The guys who make a living out of playing this game just win more than they lose. It's that simple. If you can't accept that, you don't even know where you started here. And I'm telling you that IGT could get bought out tomorrow. And I still will tell you the same exact shit. If it's not IGT, there's going to be something else that catches decent action that ends up not cashing in, man. It's how the game works. Okay? But if you buy, again, I'm just off the top of my head, just going to rattle off names that caught decent action. I mean, if you buy Campbell's Soup, FDC, I don't know, Dropbox, and IGT's your only loser, if you can't find a way to make money in this game, then go to the casino. You might have more fun there, at least. You might have more fun there. And you can tell me, oh, yeah, well, IGT, maybe the action wasn't buying. Or maybe this and this, or maybe the buyers were selling behind our back without us knowing. It doesn't matter. You could come up with any cockamamie excuse you have for your loser. You're just doing more harm than good for yourself. If you treat every single play you touch like it has to be a winner, don't complain. You're doing it to yourself. You're doing it to yourself. And MJ, I see you commenting because you know everything I'm talking about applies to you. You know what I mean? And you got a disease almost. Like you can't fix it. You can't solve it. And that's why there's going to be no traction. You could take your account from $500 to $100,000. And if you're going to play with that 100,000 the same way, it's gone. It's gone. Lewis is saying, I'm really laying down the hammer. Lewis is the truth. Everybody wants to know, about the activity and the names and this and that. And, why can't they hit at 100%? But, if I can wake up a couple of people, wake up a couple of them, and I'm telling you from experience that laying down the hammer has woke up a couple people, and they're actually on the right path now. You know what I mean? Eventually, like Denny just said, eventually you lose enough, and then you see something or you hear something, and it finally clicks to wake you the F up. Or you can pretend on Twitter that there's somebody out there on Twitter who never loses and prints his own money, and he's going to share all his wonderful stock picks with you. Or you could do that. But this is it. Listen, like I said, sentiment and flow, I think, provide an incredible edge. I really do. I really do. And if you're around flow and sentiment enough, you're going to see the edge. But if you can't do the most important things, what we're talking about today, we're not talking about flow or sentiment today. If you can't do those simple things, you're going to have a tough time in this game. Maybe you're on a nice roll now. Mrs. Market's going to give you a kick across the side of the head one day. All that other stuff doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I told you guys, I'm being honest, okay? And you don't have many people say this, especially that run some sort of room or service. When it comes to this game, you have to be real with yourself. I told you early on in my career, I knew that when it comes to being some superstar trader, I swallowed that pill early on that wasn't going to happen. I knew the odds were against me. I saw people all around me going down left and right who I thought were great traders. I realized how difficult this game was. And I think it was a little easier for me, maybe because I had a gambling background. Like I mentioned to you guys a lot, family had a gambling background, that I started to look at things a little bit differently, through those lenses. And that was my light bulb in a sense. It's the same way if any of you guys, bet on the bowl games before. You know exactly what I'm talking about. All right? If you're going to bet on the bowl games, it's about money management and winning more than you lose. The top gamblers out there hit at a 60% clip, 6-0 on even money odds. That means 6 winners, 4 losers. 4 losers. That's the best in the game. All right, but when we gamble, right, we go to Vegas, the sports book, or bet the bowl games, what do? We want to hit parlays. If we hit the first 3 games, we put it all on the 4th one. You're done. You're not going to make a living betting bowl games like that, right? I mean, come on. I'm sure you guys see that, but for some reason, you may not see it in the market. It's the same shit. It's the same shit. All it comes down to is your wins have to be greater than your losses. And if you can't get over the fact that there will be losses, you're finished before you even start, man. And every time, and it's remarkable because every time, like we come out of a bull phase, okay, you always get questions about the loser or the potential loser. Why didn't that one work out? You know, not, wow, you know, I touched 6 stocks, 4 nice winners, 1 or 2 losers. I made some decent money net. No, why didn't that work out? There was something wrong with that. Why didn't it work out? I got to figure out why that didn't work out so that never happens again. Once you start planning things like that into your head, you're scarred for life in this game. Yeah, and Ani's saying consistency, you know, it's never easy to do consistently, but that's, you know, you have to, like, that's part of the gig in this game. You know, people say they like to trade. Like, I love this game. You know what I mean? I love this game, but I can't be a trader. I can't be a trader. I can't do it. You know, I can't come into the market, you know, I like the saying a lot everybody throws around, price trumps everything. Price never lie. I don't even know what the fuck that means, but whatever, you know? And they just come in and you can look at price and you can go long and you can go short. And I will never be that guy. I knew I could never be that guy. You know, I have to have an edge and I got to pound and stay disciplined to allow that edge to be profitable. And I think most of you out there, whether you like it or not, are going to fall into that camp, whether you like it or not. And it may not be flow or sentiment. It may be something else that, you know, more than not, you will have more winners than losers. And it's about pounding that edge and staying disciplined as far as risk management, where you'll be profitable in the long run. Nothing else. You know, like a couple of you guys mentioned to me about like sentiment, you know, oh, well, Jesus, what happens if you just waited for extreme bearish sentiment and looked to get long, right? So in other words, in simple English, waited for certain sentiment signals to line up and only get long there. You know, wouldn't you have a, you know, decent amount of gains there? And the answer is yes. But can you do it? Can you just wait around for that each and every time? That's even more difficult to do than what I'm talking about. You know, so like Ani's saying, it's not that difficult to know what you need to do. You know what I mean? To be profitable. But it's about putting that plan into effect. But you know what the truth of the matter is, Ani, and you know, I see it because there's a lot of traders that come in and out of the steam room that I see it with. They're chasing the dream of something different. They think there's something different. Like right now, I guarantee you there's a handful of people out there listening, and they're probably just trading a couple years, and they're like, what's this Jesus guy talking about? He's fucking clueless, huh? Guarantee you. And even though I've been, you know, playing this game for 20 plus years, they think they're in the game 2 years, and you know, there's something different. You can win every time. You can keep playing. You can trade long, short, whatever you want and make money. You know what I mean? But, you know, like many people do, they learn the hard way. Either they're going to get their ass kicked hard enough where I'll knock them out of the game, or hopefully they have, you know, the heart to stick around and keep plugging away and correct their mistakes. But there's no other answers. You know what I mean? There are no other answers. You know, like we were talking about with a couple of you recently. Yeah, you see, you know, I don't even need to mention these, but you see people on Twitter posting, you know, oh yeah, 1,300%, 5,000%, 6,000%. Like those are realistic numbers, net. It doesn't exist. You gotta swallow the pill that there will be losers, and your job is to have more winners than losers. Period. It ends there. Nothing that. You improve things along the way. Maybe you can stretch out that winning percentage, that wins greater than losses percentage a little bit more. That's fantastic. But that's the ultimate goal in this game. And the reason, listen, two things. The reason why, and Lewis, you're saying I'm swinging, I'm laying down the hammer. The reason I went into this rant, well, there's a couple of reasons. One, flow is not important right now, in my opinion. There's no new buying out there, so I don't think it's that important. Okay, but constantly on Twitter, in the room, everywhere, I get asked the questions that I just ranted about. What happened to so and so? I'm underwater on it. You think it's going to come back? Why didn't this work out? And they're missing the big picture. They're missing the big picture, where up here they thought this just goes up every single day and they could play the same way each and every day and continue to make money. Yeah. I know, Lewis. I'm just saying, first of all, that's just me. I'm pretty loud and annoying, so that's why my delivery comes across like that. But sometimes you got to lay it out there for people to understand, because when you baby it, the people who don't want to listen to it or pay attention to it aren't going to pay attention to it no matter what. But sometimes, like Denny said, it takes something or somebody to wake you the F up, and then things start to click. And trust me, we'd all love, to play this. Most of us who play this game love to play it, right? Love the action. We all could find a way to make money together realistically. That would be great. All right, let me take some questions. George is saying I call it passion. It is passion. It is passion. It definitely is passion, George. Sean saying, Jesus, since you trade the common, do you usually hold until price hits the mark of the call? No, Sean, what I do pretty much the bulk of my career, since I'm trading off flow and sentiment, what I like to do is I day trade the equity only, okay? And I swing trade calls, sometimes equity. I like to swing equity if the stock is cheap, or the options aren't too liquid. Certain occasions, I'll swing some equity. Sometimes, I'll give you an example like FDC. I try to get a big bang for my buck, so I hit the common and the calls. If I can catch a move quick, sometimes it happens that way. But for the most part, that's what I do. So I'm day trading the equity, the stock, and I'm swing trading calls. I try to be really selective as far as my swing trading is concerned. So even though I may be day trading a name, I don't feel the action sharp enough for me to swing. For example, the names that I've taken for a swing recently, Campbell's Soup, we spoke about that action, FDC, JD, IGT, that stuff. So the most aggressive of activity, I'll swing trade. All right, but there's no rhyme or reason if you're asking on the day trade side of what I don't have any target prices. For me, again, maybe it's a personal thing. Target prices, they don't make sense to me. They never made sense to me. I could sit here and say, Campbell's Soup is going to be a $50 number. Like, where am I? I'm pulling that target price out of my ass. The market doesn't care about that target price. So what I do is I kind of get a gauge on everything that's happening around me. Okay. So for example, a lot of us in the room, what I just went over, We saw that bullish sentiment was a little too frothy. We saw that things were going parabolic. We saw the flow was isolated in the same names. We saw that we come a little too far too quick. So even if my target price was higher, I still trimmed down a lot of risk there. That's why another reason I don't like target prices. You know, if I have a set target price on something, but I see that the odds of a drawdown are higher than where I would like, why would I be stubborn and just sit in that stock or stocks because my target's higher? You understand what I'm saying? So it may be a little different if you have, you know, let's say you're out in leap calls or you're out 6 months in something and you're looking for a higher number. But as far as trades are concerned, you know, that's the stuff I pay attention to. You know, also too, if I'm trading anything up here, I'm going to be quicker to sell than I would be down here because based on everything I told you. You know, ultimately, like I said, and I'm even getting better. I'm trying to get better at it each and every day myself. Okay, is ultimately I tell you guys this. I tell you this over and over again, guys. You know it. Ultimately, I want to swing the hammer and be most aggressive down where the action just starts, where the rally potentially can just get started. That's where I want to be most aggressive. You know, I told you guys it's like a funnel. Picture a funnel, right? So the wider part of the funnel is where I put on the most risk, I get most aggressive, and then like a funnel, as a market continues to push higher, as the flow becomes deeper and longer in the tooth, you know, I want to have less and less risk as I possibly can. Okay. And you guys have seen examples, like even last January. Okay. You know, we looked like, well, people will look at us like morons because we were preaching the same thing. I remember like it was yesterday, right over here where the market was. You know, and Lewis, believe it or not, was screaming just as I am now and just like I always am about sizing down, putting on protection if you're too long. You know, those of you in the room know exactly what I'm talking about. You know, I try to drill it home, not to be annoying, but you know, I get people saying, "Oh, I weren't around that day," or "I wasn't around early this morning, I didn't hear it," you know, stuff like that. But I was doing the same thing back here in January, and this market continued just to run higher through bullish sentiment. But, you know, eventually it's just not going to last, and this is what happens. You know, the longer it goes like that, the more bulls they reel in, and the bigger the wash when it comes. They all get stuck. You know? So, yeah, Sean, that's on my swing trading, and that's what I'm looking for. So, again, day trading, there's no rhyme or reason. I'm looking to make some money and get the hell out. Swing trading, depending where we are spot-wise in the trend and flow, that's where I'll have a longer leash sometimes than others, if that makes sense. Let's get some other questions here. I got to scroll back. I always take the recent one. Anybody have any questions? Throw them out there. Don't be ashamed to repeat yourself because sometimes I skip over you guys and I don't mean to. Ani saying, I was reading about the quant hedge funds today struggling. I was thinking, if only it was as easy as writing software. Yeah, it's right. And that's this game. It's always, you know, anything in life, right? Anything in life. When everybody knows about it or it's too good to be true, you know, 9.5 out of 10 times it's useless. You know, just like flow, when everybody's in something and need that stock to work, that's usually the one that doesn't work out. We see that all the time. So yeah, nothing's ever easy. And the thing is too, Ani, we see it, okay? Because we see what this market does, at certain spots on a sentiment scale, right? Like, it's no coincidence every time everybody gets too bearish, the market squeezes. Every time everybody's too bullish, may not happen that day, but right around the corner there's a wash that's going to wipe them out. That's the way the market works. That's the way the market works. Denny's saying, how do you plan on getting in at the beginning of a move for a swing off tanker type move? Good question, Denny. Good question. So basically what I mean at the beginning of the move, and Denny is a member, so he might have a better understanding than some of you, but I'm looking, and you can use this as an example for a name, Denny. Like, for example, let's take, I love to use Micron as an example all the time, okay? Like Micron, all right, had a ridiculous rally all throughout 2017, okay? And you can use this example the same way as I was talking about for the market, for every stock, okay? So Micron had this big rally and caught literally sweeper activity every single day. Never missed a day. Had a huge rally, sweepers all the way to the tippy top, okay? Then Micron had a wash, all right? And once that wash hit, Micron wasn't seeing that ridiculous sweeper activity anymore. The flow kind of went dead. Okay, there was call buying, but not the type of activity Micron would see when they were really bullish. All right, so it went dead. You could see it consolidated like it should have done. All right, chopped around, and then all of a sudden, on one day in particular, okay, it rolled over to new lows, and we saw big size Micron looking like sweepers come into that weakness. Okay, so that's what I refer to as initial activity. So that's the starting point right there. That's what I'm looking for. As opposed to Micron catching sweepers up here still, but that's not the initial spot where the action started up. You understand what I'm saying? Does it make sense? Okay, so let's use the overall market as an example now. All right, the overall market, kind of similar to Micron. We were seeing, the activity, believe it or not, where those Micron sweepers started and all that was down at the lows. Okay, and the flow has been pretty bullish. Again, we don't have to go over the names, but there's been some big winners. There's been some real nice action throughout this whole rally. Okay, and what started to happen here, this is what I was talking about earlier in the conversation, what started to happen this leg higher, the same names continued to see the action. There was no more initial activity in anything new. Okay, there were no new names, no new ideas. All right, so then what usually happens, you get a flush. Okay, those names that keep going higher, seeing the action, they get tired, they get exhausted, and they need to breathe, and you get this pull or consolidation, like the Micron, whatever it may be. Okay, so now we've been through a period of time here where we're not seeing any quality activity. I mentioned yesterday I didn't even day trade anything. Today I day traded two names off some small, one was spec action. I didn't put on any swings. I didn't even come close to looking at anything to swing. So any new quality activity that comes off this pull is the stuff I'm referring to. Okay, that would be initial activity. If they come into, I don't know, what's a name that really hasn't been hit, like an industrial that hasn't seen flow, or a bank, let's say JP Morgan catches some bull missiles here. okay, that would be something I want to swing and have a decent sized position. All right, so as opposed to JP Morgan off a rally of 2 weeks where it saw numerous sweepers. All right, and usually the initial activity comes when nobody's looking, nobody wants to own the name. We talk about that a lot. That's when normally the activity will come in. You know, Baidu. Okay, everybody wanted Baidu as this thing was going bananas up here. Everybody. Then Baidu had news. Whoop. Okay, and what happened? We saw a pretty big size Baidu bet for August come right into the selling. You know, there wasn't much confidence around retail around that bet. For good reason. The stock got hit over the head. Okay, but that's the spot where I'm looking to take a long, as opposed to up here again, where everybody's looking at Baidu again off the action. You know, that's why these pulls are good ultimately. You know, they're good. There's more risk that when you're in late stage rally or something like this, and you start to see, you know, the spec action spill over, trying to find the next, like we were saying. You know, and I use that as an example because I think it's such a great example. You know, IQ, you know, not many people participated in the initial activity in IQ. Hell, like I said, I didn't even know what the hell IQ was when it caught sweeper activity down here. You know, and then up here, everybody's eyeballs are on it. All right. And then what do? They want to go look for the next IQ. Okay, what's another Chinese stock I could go into? WB. And what happens? Whoop. Right? And like I said, sometimes you can trade these things. Okay, if you bought WB down here, you had a little rally to get a trade out of it. But if you were playing for the next IQ, oh yeah, they gave it to you nice. Greek style. So that's what I mean, Denny. When you see, basically you're in the room, right? When you see decent action come into a name that hasn't seen action, you know, that's the starting point. For the overall market, it's the same thing. You know, that's what we're on the lookout now in the room. That's what we're waiting for. You know, it's a couple days and we're already itching, you know, but that's what we're waiting for. What will they buy off this pull? What will they buy? You know, I'm hoping not yet the same names that were bought, you know, from the rally, because, you know, that's not going to be an initial starting point. They'll be tradable. You know what I mean? But you want new names. You want fresh names. When the market, you remember back all last year, even prior to that into last year, what the market was doing, why it was so strong, constantly rotating, constantly. Money went into the biotechs. The biotechs got too hot. They let them breathe. They went into financials. Financials got hot. They let them breathe. They went into tech. Tech got hot. They went into the transportation names. The trannies got hot. They let them cool off. They went into economics, you know, sensitive names like Caterpillar, Deere. Constant rotation. That's what was so incredible about the market post-Trump election. Constant rotation. There would be like mini corrections in sectors under the hood without anybody knowing. Yeah, exactly. So like the banks now, Denny, they're perfectly set up. Okay, they're perfectly set up. But we need real action here. Like real action. Not a 300 lot JP Morgan sweeper in weeklies. We want to see them really buy these things. We know what they look like when they really buy, right? When they really wanted to buy Campbell's soup, what did it look like? When they really wanted to buy PayPal, what did it look like? When they really wanted to sweep Micron, what did it look like? That's the type of action you want to see come into the banks now. So you can have the confidence to take a decent sized position. And basically, what it's telling us is the sharp money out there feel like they're ready. And then after that, like I said, it's not whether it's a winner or a loser anymore, in my opinion. That's irrelevant. It could be a loser. I don't know that ahead of time. I wish I did. But I know that if you look for that stuff and you're ready to fire when they come around, again, like I started off the webinar, you're going to have more winners than losers. In my opinion, it's not even close. It's not even close. But yeah, Denny, I agree with you. These banks are set up nice. And the good thing about it is a lot of people have been trying to find a bottom in these things, and they frustrated the living daylights out of a lot of bulls in these things. Honestly, I wouldn't even mind this goes on for a little bit longer. Frustrate them some more. Like maybe this rally fails and they hang around here. But it's just the flow. We need to see the action here. Like when they want Bank of America, those of you who have been following the action know, when they want to own Bank of America, do you know what they do? You see this board over here? This board will be all Bank of America. All of it. I'm not even kidding. This whole board, 75% of it will be Bank of America when they want to buy Bank of America. Bank of America catches call activity in its sleep. It's an active name. Some flow into calls in Bank of America is as useless as tits on a bull. Useless. When they want Bank of America, it's like their finger is stuck on the buy button all day long. Sweep, 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 sweep. So and that may not happen. It may not happen, but it's telling you that they don't want Bank of America. Maybe it rallies without flow. I don't care. So being set up is one thing. I need the flow to confirm. That's what I'm waiting on there. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff, Denny, besides the banks too, that really have been awful. You got the industrials. We saw a decent Jan order in the diamonds today. Yeah, this thing, even with the market rallying, has been pretty useless. The bios have been awful too. I haven't really paid attention to them. Well, they weren't too bad, but now they're pulling a little bit. Bios are weird though, We see bullish action in some, like the smaller names and Celgene's getting killed. They're a tough trade, the big bios. I like the mid-tier biotech names better, even though they're riskier. But like the Gileads, this thing's a widowmaker, this Gilead. Look at this. I guess there's some trades in here, right? Yeah, so Sean brings up an interesting name, ACXM, right before the bell. Nothing huge. Caught an unusual sweep, about 100 grand. Stood out like a sore thumb. I will definitely keep an eye on it tomorrow, if barring there's no news, because it definitely was a weird looking sweep. Like I said, nothing huge, but a weird sweep right before the bell. I would have definitely day traded it today if I had time. You could see here the reaction to it. But this guy came in, I think it was like 4 minutes before the bell here, see? $100,000 sweep. Look what he did to the stock. So Sean, definitely a name to keep an eye on. You know, it's like I said, it's a spec sweep. He's probably looking for some news or rumor or something. What else? I traded this today. Nothing crazy. Made a little bit of money on it. Yeah, I was looking to scalp a couple things today. HRL food name caught some spec action. The food names have had a lot of chatter around them. Let me put candlesticks. You guys could see it better. There you go. So, yeah, not a bad looking chart either. This is HRL. What else did I trade today? Oh, I traded Boyd. Again, day trade. I didn't swing trade it. Caught a little bit of action. Boyd, you guys know this name. Casino name. Tons of action late last year. Had a big move. And you can see building another base, it looks like. Had a decent move off the action. They hit it a couple times today. And then ran out of gas late afternoon. Those were the only two I traded. Other than that, there was some block activity out there, which you guys know I'm not a big fan of. URI, some big blocks out in December. Big size, dollar-wise. You can see that's down here. So maybe a name to keep an eye on. I'm going to keep an eye on for sweepers here, potentially. But if you like the name, you could probably use that block action as confirmation, as an indicator. You got a DeMark 9 there too. And that's it, really. There was nothing. I didn't come close to swinging anything. The couple names I day traded caught my eye, and this ACXM late in the day, just of how strange it was. But other than that, yeah, the FANG names, we saw a little action. Apple, nothing really noteworthy. Tesla had a little bit of action early on in the day. Yeah, and that's another thing. I know you guys like to trade these names. But, the thing is this. You guys got to understand. We're talking about flow providing an edge. Okay? When a stock looks like this and has seen tons of action over the months, there's no more edge off the flow. It's gone. The flow provides an edge, like I point out to you, the Amazon Bazooka Joe back here when nobody wanted it. Amazon, choppy, awful, never catches sweeper activity. Nobody wants to own it, and then all of a sudden, somebody sweeps $4 million worth of calls. That's the edge off the activity. Now up here, there's no edge in Amazon. Everybody knows about it. Everybody's in it. Everybody's trading it. So there's just no edge. Again, Facebook, another one. Facebook's been strong as hell. Sees sweeper activity every other day. There's no real edge in it. If anything, the August missile into the teeth of the selling. It was the last piece of flow to provide an edge there, a real edge. I'll tell you, the smart money is actually buying into that blood while everybody's panicking. Oh, yeah, Steven's talking about FedEx. This is interesting today. FedEx caught an order, Steven, today, and it just doesn't look right to me. I'm gonna ask around. I'll post it on private Twitter, Steven. It was a size order, but IV, implied volatility, got smashed off the order. So when I see stuff like that, I don't trust it, because it is possible. Here's what happens. When I see stuff like that, it's one, either a roll, two, tied to stock, or three, a seller who just got filled on the offer. you know? So, right, Stephen. I posted it. I don't know if you saw it in the room and on private Twitter that I wasn't sure about the order, and I'm going to ask around this evening and see if I can dig something up. If not, the ultimate answer would come, if you see them come back for more. That's another thing. We're patients here. Yeah, listen, I'm one of the most impatient people on the face of the earth, but some of the best activity you don't even realize till it's a couple sweepers deep. Campbell's soup, like I had no intentions of buying Campbell's soup. All right, but it caught one big bet, then another big bet, then another big bet, then another big bet. And I said, oh shit, I better own some Campbell's soup. So I make that point, Stephen, because sometimes if you're not sure, like when an aggressive bull sweeper comes in, there's no question in my mind. I don't even care if the stock's getting killed or anything like that. Just the order itself, I don't question. If I question anything, that's what I resolve to. Let them come back. They really want it. Come back, buy some more. Show me you really want it. So I'd probably take that approach, me personally, to the FedEx order today. Again, one order, I didn't like the way it looked a little weird to me. So that's the approach I'm going to take. But I'm glad you brought that up. Surprised I didn't get more questions on that. Did I miss anybody's questions before we wrap it up today? The squeezometer on it closed, I think, right a little over neutral. I got to double check. I think that was around 330 when I last seen it. Right around there. We should see some more readings out of that Ani now that they finally hit the hot pockets out there, Because if you remember, we were talking about that. It kind of threw some of that sentiment out of whack because there were pockets of the market that were scorched and the other half of the market not doing anything, So I think now will be a cleaner read out of some of the sentiment now that we've seen all this go down. The whole market participating in some weakness. Anybody else got anything else before we wrap it up? All right, you guys know where to find me if I missed any of the questions. So pretty much the game plan now, at least my game plan is, it's all about the flow for me. Honestly, it's not even like when we were in correction mode, I was more focused on the sentiment and looking to trade, just to trade off some extreme bearish sentiment. Now, for me, the flow trumps all. I want to see real action come into new names, real stuff at decent setups, and that's what I'm going to be looking to swing. Otherwise, I'm going to be, nice and easy. I'm looking to day trade, grind it out, and make some money while I'm waiting for that. But that's what I'm looking for. So may the bull missiles show up at some point in something half decent, and listen, it may take some time, may take a little bit of time. We're coming off a pretty nice rally, so we may need to breathe a little bit. The buyers may need to breathe a little bit. That might not be the worst thing in the world. All right, if anybody's new, go to wallstreetjesus.com. If you have any questions on any terminology I used or any of the sweeper activity or sentiment strategy that I mentioned, you could go to the strategy section, click on that, couple short little blogs. You'll be able to brush up pretty easily on some of this stuff. All right, and this is what we have going on. 3-day trial, no credit card required. If you want to check us out, then 50% off the first month. And if you're interested in just the private Twitter feed, go to the products tab, private Twitter. You put your handle in there, $59.99 a month. You get access to the private Twitter feed. All right, everybody. Good luck out there. Enjoy the summer week. I'll see you guys soon.